All right, good evening. I think we'll get started here. Welcome. We hope you enjoyed your summer break and back for our school already. No, I know this is very much quicker than we usually kick off a trip meeting. Usually we do this in September, but based off of what we were seeing, we wanted to get things kicked off and going now to help ease the burden of payments, especially going into this. So thank you for coming this evening. First of all, if you don't know who I am, my name is Mr. Mahan. I am the choir director here at Waterford High School. We do have our band director, Mr. Ludio. He's online with us right now, as well as our travel agent, Sarah McVeigh, and I'll have them talk to you guys in just a few minutes, but we wanted to just go through everything. What we're going to ask is that if you have questions, write them down, save them to the end. Hopefully we answer about 95% of them. This will be my 10th, 11th trip with Waterford, and Mr. Ludio's first. So it's a new beginning, but Mr. Nelson and I have taken this trip together 5 times. Prior to coming to Waterford, I worked with Bob Rogers Travel exclusively when we did our trips in Kenosha, and actually our first trip here when we went to Hawaii in 2004, we used Bob Rogers Travel. They are a fantastic company to work with. And even through the pandemic, they've really taken care of their customers well. And I have every faith that we are in good hands with Sarah. So with that said, let's dive in. You should have gotten a piece of paper on your way in. If you didn't, they are at the doorway. We'll go through that at the end. We have this PowerPoint presentation for you here. So let's run through it. And I'm sure, again, you'll have some questions at the end. But let's go. So this is a brief overview of our trip, and it starts with us leaving on Sunday, March 20th. That is the Sunday of spring break. This trip does happen over spring break, which is not Easter week. Easter week is very late this year. It's in April 19th, I want to say, somewhere very late this upcoming year. So we will be departing on Sunday, March 20th. We're going to be traveling via motor coach from Waterford to Orlando. It is a 24-hour trip approximately, slightly less than that, depending on how long some of the restroom and pit stops that we need to make happen. We do travel overnight, and we have drivers that switch out as we go. So on Monday, March 21st, we arrive in Orlando, and the very first day we're there, Blizzard Beach. Get off the bus, get in the sun, get into the water park. It's a great way to start off the trip. You'll see that I've highlighted a couple things. Everything is included in this trip except for 3 lunches and you're spending cash. We've tried to be as inclusive as possible so that the price of the trip is the price of the trip. So again, Blizzard Beach and then dinner at Golden Corral, and we'll be staying at the Spring Hill Suites in Marriott Village, which students are going to be 5 to a room, and chaperones are going to be 2 to a room. Tuesday, March 22nd. Ooh, that formatting got off. I apologize for that. Breakfast is included at the hotel. We'll go to take a group picture. Usually it's at the All-Star Resort. And then that is our day spent in Hollywood Studios, which most of you know is where the Star Wars stuff happens now. Again, lunch is on your own. And then students are going to get a $20 Disney dining card that allows them to purchase a meal within the park. Wednesday, right now, oh, wow, that formatting just went all over the place. I apologize for that. Way to go, Sarah. We thought we had this. We thought we tested this and everything. It just didn't. Breakfast at the hotel, and right now this is slated as our performance workshop day. We just got the acceptance form for the choirs 2 days ago. We're waiting on the band one, and it's a little tricky. Usually in the past, it's submit your stuff. They said, yay, great, let's go. But with the pandemic, they're being a little more restrictive, and some of you know this, next year's Disney's 50th anniversary. So they're even more selective. So what happens if we don't get accepted into that marching performance? We'll either bend to do a workshop for the band as well, or we will submit an application to Universal to perform at Universal, who is not being quite as selective this year. I'm correct with that, right, Sarah? Okay, just making sure. But yeah, again, lunch is on their own, but we will be in Magic Kingdom for the day. And again, a $20 dining card is provided. On Thursday the 24th, we'll have breakfast, and we actually check out of the hotel that morning, though you're going to spend the day in the parks. Thursday is what we call your choice day. Included is Disney. Everything Disney is included. So if you just want to do that base package, on this day, the students will choose to go to either Animal Kingdom or Epcot. We have an add-on package if you're interested, and that is a day pass to Universal. The Universal pass is $125. So that is an extra cost. That's your choice. That would be your choice on that day. You would not go to Animal Kingdom or to Epcot. You go to Universal. Spend the days in the parks, and again, lunch is on their own time. They'll have a dining card for either Disney if they're there, Universal if they're there. And usually what happens is somewhere around 8 or 9 o'clock, we exit the parks, rendezvous at a location, and get everybody together to make the trip home. Again, 24 hours, and we are back on the evening of Friday, March 25th. That's kind of the general overview. And again, I know there are going to be lots of questions, so we'll get into some of those. So here is what is included. Motor coach transportation and driver gratuities, 3 nights accommodations at the Spring Hill Suites, overnight security. We do have security at the hotel. Mr. Nelson and I used to joke because we were kind of yin and yang. I can't sleep on buses. I'm horrible. Just the motion of them, I'm awake for those 24 hours, and then I'm ruined at the hotel, so I sleep. He sleeps like a baby on the bus. He gets to the hotel, and he's up and roaming the hallways. We have great stories about that. But I don't think Mr. Ludio is quite wired the same way. Not knowing him or how we operate together in that, we do have security at the hotel who helps there, and they are hired by our school for our kids. They're not just hotel security, they're security for our kids. Trip t-shirt will be included. At the beginning of the trip, we will be, or we've worked with the Subway that's here in town. Students have their choice of a sub. They get a sub, chips, cookie, and water to go on the bus with them. So they're guaranteed a meal to go on the way down. They get that, and they can either have that for lunch, or if they eat lunch before they get on the bus, and then they can have that for dinner. So they're guaranteed a meal there. Breakfast at the hotel each morning, a $20 dining card, or Universal if you're doing that option each day. We are going to be doing the Performing Arts 3-day premium park hopper ticket, which is different than a season pass. It's different than a regular Disney pass. So unfortunately, if you have Disney tickets, you are a season ticket holder, we're not going to be able to work that out this time, unfortunately. So you'll have to get a ticket with us. The band performance will be at Walt Disney Resort pending acceptance and availability. Choir workshop, we already know that that's going to be that Wednesday. We'll have an on-site company tour director from Bob Rogers Travel, so if anything goes wrong, they're there to take care of it, which is wonderful. And then this is something that we've done here in Waterford a long time, this $20 buffer. When you make payments to us, you're actually we'll explain in a second, but it includes the sub pack, the t-shirt, and then this $20 buffer, which is what happens if something happens that we need to cover while we're down there. We've never had to use it. We almost did the very first year we went down. When we went down to Blizzard Beach, we had ordered dinner with Disney, and we got there and they said, "What dinner?" "Oh, we have 180 kids we need to feed. Where are we going?" That's when we went to Golden Corral for the first time. Fortunately, we had an administrator on the trip at the time who put down his credit card and said, "I'll take care of it." And then when we got back to school, we reimbursed him. But we also went, we don't have an administrator with us. How do we cover something like that? Now, hopefully Bob Rogers takes care of that, and we can work with them on that. But that's always been our emergency, what happens if. We've never had to use it, which is great, which means at the end of the trip, as we're getting on the bus to come home, each person gets $20, which then guarantees them money to have for food on the way home. That's been a godsend, because there are some kids. I had one kid one year who went with $1,000, and she came home with nothing. And then I had a kid on that very same trip who went down with $75. He came home with $50. Right? It all depends on each family situation, because that's always a big question. How much spending cash? I don't know. It all depends on your own situation and how frugal you are personally. So, but we guarantee that the kids then will have a meal on the way home. So that's why we can say everything's included in this trip, except for those 3 lunches in the parks. And honestly, we've had people who've been smart about that too, that in the morning at the breakfast, they take an extra apple or an orange and have a snack during the day that they don't have to spend out on a full lunch, which in Disney can run 20, 25 bucks. So just something to keep in mind. Cool. So you saw this sheet, hopefully that was emailed out to you, which basically explains how things are going. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah. I think this is the point where we're going to hand this over, right? Okay, sure, she says. So she's going to unmute and you should be able to hear her.
Hi, I just want to make sure I can be heard. Can I get a thumbs up?
Absolutely. Okay.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Thanks for letting me crash your meeting tonight. I appreciate it. Oh, and my dog's going to start barking. I'm sorry. Of course.
It's just like classes.
Truly. Okay, so as you can see the price tag here, 4 students staying in quint occupancy rooms. So that's 5 to a room. At Spring Hill, they do allow that because they have the 2 queen beds plus a pull-out sofa. So it's very comfortable to have 5 in a room. It's not a hassle. They're beautiful rooms. They're going to really enjoy it. That cost is $11.50. When you register on the Bob Rogers website, which we're going to get to in a couple of slides, you will see an $1,100 amount. You will not see the $11.50. Don't panic. The $50 is going directly to Waterford Union High School, and you can see it over on the 3rd payment on September 14th, and then you will cut that check to the school. Eric, did you want to jump in on that?
No, I'm actually going to mute myself here because I think we're getting a little feedback.
Perfect. Is that better on your end? It's better on mine. Okay. All right. Perfect. So when you log in, don't panic that you're not seeing $11.50. You'll see $1,100 to Bob Rogers Travel. That is the money that you will be paying to us. And that $50 is going to go directly to the high school. And then they will take care of those little odds and ends that Mr. Mahan was talking about a little bit earlier. So July 1st, we're asking you all to get registered by July 1st. This is so that we can plan accordingly. We know how many buses we need. We make sure that the room count that we're holding right now for you at the hotel is as accurate as possible at this point in the game. All of those types of things, make sure that your trip is as smooth as possible. So please honor that deadline, July 1st registration deadline. And then the first deposit will be due $200 by July 13th. So you've got about a month to kind of figure out how you guys are going to do that and make that happen with that first deposit. At that point, we've got $150 due each month with, as Mr. Mahan refers to it, as a payment holiday in January. I love that, and I'm probably going to steal it from my other groups now. You're going to have that payment holiday in January. Otherwise, every month it's $150, with the exception of September 14th, that additional $50 to the high school. This is based on 80 students participating. With COVID and some of the oddities of this year, we weren't 100% sure of where those numbers would fall, but Mr. Mahan feels confident that it'll be at least 80, and of course we'll adjust accordingly if you end up with more than that or you need more motor coaches than that. At this point in time, only students can register, as the school will be determining how many students there are, and that will equal out how many chaperones they need, and then they will go through the process that the district needs to go through in order to determine who those chaperones are going to be. You can go ahead and flip it to the next slide. Okay, so I always do this. I should flip the order of these, but there is optional travel insurance that you can purchase. It is through a company called TripMate. Bob Rogers does not sell insurance. So if you have questions, when you get into the system, you'll see that you are able to ask questions directly through the portal. Because I'm not a certified insurance agent, there are only so many insurance questions that I am allowed to answer legally. So you'll see over on the right-hand side that there's standard insurance and enhanced insurance. You will be offered the opportunity to select standard insurance, enhanced insurance, or to decline completely. My son is old enough to travel next year with his band. I'm really excited. They're also going to Orlando. And I can tell you that as a parent, I have elected to do the enhanced insurance. After seeing COVID and all of that just kind of happen, that was really useful, because if we were unable to get 100% back, say a group canceled, one of my groups canceled 2 hours before the motor coach was to arrive at their school. We were able to recover a really great refund for them, but because of how late it was in the process, we couldn't get 100%. And because of that, those people that had that enhanced insurance were able to take, say we got them 80% back, they were able to take that remaining 20% and make a claim on that remaining 20%, and they were then made almost entirely whole. So that is where the enhanced insurance comes in. It also comes in handy if you as an individual need to cancel. You will see on the next slide that once you register and you start paying the deposits in, that those are non-refundable from BRT if you as an individual need to cancel. So that's where the enhanced plan would come in handy as well. And the difference between standard and enhanced is that standard is just a basic protection plan, and it has very specific reasons that are covered for cancellation. The enhanced plan has what's called cancel for any reason insurance associated with it. So literally you could cancel for any reason, like, oh my gosh, my girlfriend broke up with me and I just can't stand to go on this trip anymore. You could pull out and you could make a claim, and they're not going to ask any questions. But if you have standard, that's not going to be a covered reason and you wouldn't get any money back. So those are the differences between the two. Again, you are going to be offered standard, enhanced, or the option to decline insurance altogether. Personally, if I wasn't getting the enhanced, I would decline. I do not think that standard is worth your money. I'm not really supposed to say that, but just speaking from one parent to another, I would not get the standard. I would do enhanced or I would decline. You can go ahead and skip to the next slide, please. Okay, so it's an amazing experience. You know the price, you know it's all part of it. How do we get registered so that we can be a part of this? Step one, you just click on the link. There's two options there. You probably pretty much ignore option two. Just go with option one because it's simple. You click on the link, it'll take you right to the Waterford Union trip page, and then you just start going through the steps. It looks like you might want to say. Sorry, we couldn't hear you because you were muted, so I don't.
I'm out of practice that I haven't had to do this since March, so I'm glad. But I was just saying, I went the hard way. I did that myself, so I could say that it works, but it's not the right way to do it. So, all right, keep going, all you.
Perfect, thanks. Yeah, so both ways work. It's just easier to click on one link and run with it. And once you go through that, you're going to see in step two, you see complete all appropriate fields. You will know if something's not complete because it will stay in red. If you see red writing, it means you haven't filled out the information in that section. It's going to ask you for things like insurance information, medical information, dietary restrictions. This is also where you will opt in for a universal ticket if you want that option on the last day. If you want to have that add-on, you would click that during this registration process and you would pay that amount with your deposit. Once all the red is filled out, it's going to ask you for payment information. You can opt to pay right away, or you can wait until that July 13th date. You will get a reminder 3 days prior to July 13th, 3 business days prior, that'll just say, hey, don't forget, you owe this money. And then that'll be a reminder. You can pop in, pay your deposit, and then you can choose after that point to either do auto pay from then that point forward. On each of those dates, it would just auto pay, or you can continue to remember to go in and pay manually. Again, for me personally, I do auto pay because I just don't need one more thing to keep track of. So I just do auto pay. It takes out my $150 and we're good to go. I think at this point in time, I can pass you back over to your directors to talk about potential fundraising opportunities.
Yep. And I'm going to go back real quick. At least I think I'm going to go back real quick. Just to clarify this on the right-hand side. So $1,100 going to Bob Rogers Travel, and then the $50 is coming to the school. That $50 is for the $20 buffer that we can give back to you at the end of the trip.
for the trip t-shirt, and for the subway pack. Those are things that it was becoming difficult to coordinate through Bob Rogers Travel. It was adding on a layer of things that we can take care of in-house. I can say that last year when was that last year? Yeah, that was last year. When we had started the process to go on the trip to Disney, we kept saying to people, we highly recommend trip insurance. We highly recommend trip insurance. And I think about 80% of the people actually did it. And those 20%, when it came to COVID, it just, what do we do now? I said, did you get trip insurance? No, but even then, trip insurance, as some of you know, was not being real kind because Disney considered this an act of God, therefore not refundable. But the nice thing is that we were able to recoup all those costs. So you will notice that when you register, nothing is refundable unless you have trip insurance. Trip insurance is the guarantee to get your money back if the trip gets canceled for any reason on our end, on your end, on an act of God end. That is the guaranteed way to get your money back. And again, I'm not a travel agent. I'm not an insurance agent. Neither is Sarah. You can certainly shop that out and get that from different vendors if you wish. You do not have to get that through Bob Rogers Travel. Okay, so we'll answer those questions at the end. But that $50 that's paid to the school is not included in that. And when I added it on to my child's trip, I think it was $77 and change for the $1,100. Okay.
I should mention as well that you will see that amount. If you choose insurance, you will see that amount added to your deposit amount. So don't panic when it's more than the $200 that we just talked about.
I did. I'm like, why is it $277? Oh, insurance. Gotcha. So figure that out real quick. I had all the fun moments of what is this? What's going on? I did that for you already, so you're welcome. Okay, fundraisers. This has been the number one question that people have been asking as I was trying to get information. Should we go by bus? Should we go by plane? You know, what should we do? And people are, well, what about fundraising? What about fundraising? Because this year we have not been able to do any, and that was an administrative policy that I had no control over. And so I'm working with the administration. Unfortunately, the people that I need answers from are on vacation this week. They took this week off, but on Monday have meetings scheduled to get some answers. We are hoping to do a fundraiser that goes July, August, one in September, one in October. So they'll be there if you want to take advantage of them. If you don't, you don't have to. You don't have to. They are optional. They're meant to help offset the cost of the trip for the student because whatever a student fundraises goes into their account. But we are planning on doing fundraisers, yes, and hopefully in July to start with already. And just because we know that we missed out on a year where we usually do 2 or 3 fundraisers at this point. And on 2 years, that's 6 fundraisers. That's a bunch. But we're trying to also figure out how not to saturate the community, because that's also a fun point when people are like, no, we already gave it the office. So we're trying to avoid that too. So coming up with some unique fundraisers that I think will be good for our kids in our community. So if you have questions, I would say that you should direct them mostly to me. If I'm not giving you the answers that you are needing, or if I don't have the answers that you need, then you can contact Sarah. I will be sending out this PowerPoint presentation along with the paperwork that you got that has the links. And there's that. I'll get to that in just a second. A couple of things that I wrote down, and then I'll take some questions, and hopefully I didn't forget anything. So we've had some people say, well, what if I'm not sure if I want to register it here in July? Then you are taking a risk. We would really like to solidify our numbers because these prices are based on 80 people going. So if more people go, it might reduce the cost of the trip. Then again, if we start hitting that magic number where we need to order another bus, then we saw that the last trip. We hit a point that was like going down great, and then 5 people came in and the price went back up again. And so we kind of have this down to what's going on. And so we want to lock in as many people as we can here in July. So we go, okay, this is how many it is. And then we're going to say, here's the cap. Here's how many people we can take. So you might be risking waiting until September, and your payments will be bigger. That's really why we're starting here in July. So I wanted to keep these down to about $150 a month. If we wait until September, each month is going to be $225, and your down payment is probably going to be $300 or $350. So we really wanted to keep this as low as possible. It's always been our philosophy here is to keep the price as low as possible to get the most amount of people to go as we can. People have asked, well, how come this is so much more than last year? Everything is more this year. We are seeing an increase in rates across the board that usually takes 4 or 6 years to get to. Disney is more. Fuel is more, the motor coaches are more, the hotel is more. I mean, everything is, and every little $20, $30 added up to be about $200 more than what we're going to go for last year. That's what we're seeing, and unfortunately, that's where we're at. Chaperones, we're gonna take 1 chaperone for every 10 students that go. And we'll determine those based on how many students sign up. And we kind of do them on a first come, first served basis. We start with upperclassmen parents first. This will be their last chance to go on a trip for the juniors and seniors. We also look for a couple of people to help us out in driving the equipment truck. You won't be on the bus, you drive down it. And it's been a couple of dads. Last time we had dad and mom that were gonna drive down together and meet us down there, which is fine. We're gonna need someone to do that again to drive the equipment truck down. We also have a full-time nurse. Mrs. Sheely is going with us. She used to be the nurse for Waterford, so most of you know who she is, but she is going along on the trip, so your medical concerns will be addressed and taken care of there. I'm forgetting something, I know I am. And then the last is people have asked about family trips. Hey, we want to go down early. Can we meet up with the trip? Or we want to extend our family trip on the end. Can we do that? The answer is yes. We've had people do that they fly down on Thursday, because again, we're out of school that Friday. They'll fly down on Thursday. They have their own family trip stuff going on. And then the student meets up with us at the trip on the front end when we arrive. And we've had people on the back end. Last day, we're in the park. The parent comes and picks them up. We have to physically see them. If there's not a physical handoff, the kid's coming back with us. We're not going to leave them there by themselves, wondering where their parents are stranded. But yeah, we've had people do that too. And again, I feel like I'm forgetting something, and I'm sure someone's going to ask it as soon as I say that. So, questions that I can answer that I have not already. Oh, I know what it is, and then I saw you first and you second. The other main question I've gotten is, are students required to be with chaperones 24/7? When we go to New York, the answer to that is yes, because New York is an entirely different animal. In Disney, the answer is kind of, but not really. We require that the students travel in groups of at least 4 at all times. No one is ever alone. But within the park, the chaperones sometimes will tag along with the students. Sometimes they go around just to make sure that they're available. But again, the advent of cell phones has really helped that process. So they'll have my cell phone number, they'll have Mr. Ludio's cell phone number, they'll have Sarah's cell phone number or whoever our travel rep is, and they'll have the nurse's cell phone number. We are always within a park and can get to them within 5 to 10 minutes if needed. And so they're never alone. They're always in a group of 4 or more. We've seen groups with 10, and sometimes a parent will travel along with them. Depends on how the kids feel about that. And I know that makes some people nervous, but again, we are always very, very close. Okay, question up there.
So I actually have 2 quick questions.
Sure.
First one is on the fundraising. We did fundraising for the previous trip.
Yes.
Will that be able to apply?
Yes. The question was on previous fundraisers that you have done. Yes, that money is still in the accounts and can be applied to these trips. Mr. Ludio has the band account information from Mr. Nelson. I have all the choir account information. That money is still there, belongs to the students. So yeah, any previous fundraisers, including older siblings comes down through the family.
Perfect. And then number 2 was about the travel insurance.
Yes.
The previous travel insurance that we had purchased last year did cover pandemic.
Correct.
This one may have been tweaked.
Yes, so Sarah, the question is, and she's right, that the travel insurance last year, again, who could predict a pandemic, right? And so a lot of insurance companies panicked and said no refund for anybody. That didn't go over so well. So most of them are starting to include this. Sarah, do you know what the party line is on what happens if there's another pandemic?
Yep. As long as you have that enhanced insurance, it will be covered. And that was the same for our clients last year in 2020. If they had the cancel for any reason or the enhanced included in their protection plan, they were covered.
Okay, great, thank you. There was a question over here, I saw a hand. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, if you've already registered, and whether you have put down a down payment or not, yes, you should still be able to add the universal option.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you brought that up. Those of you, there are about, I want to say 25 of you who have already registered. So yay, that's awesome. The universal add-on was not available for you when you did register. So just go back, log in, and you will be able to add the add-on at this point in time. If you have any troubles, just shoot me an email.
Yep, and again, you'll have Sarah's email. I know someone else was having trouble that he was getting timed out. He was trying to edit it and they got timed out, so I'm sure you can work that out. Mr. Carter.
Is the universal pass a park hopper or is it?
Yes, it's a park hopper. You can go between the two universal sites. You can ride that. You can ride Hogwarts. I know, very popular option. Yes.
So if you do tag on your own trip and you take a different transportation, one way or the other or both ways, how does that affect the price?
It doesn't.
Okay.
This is a package price. Yep. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And honestly, even last year when we were doing things on our own, with the bus is the bus. We just to spread out the cost among everybody. Yeah. Yes.
So is there going to be like a videographer or something like that to capture the performances? So if the parents don't go as chaperone or whatever.
Ooh, is there going to be a videographer along on the trip to capture it? I don't know, not unless the school district wants to pay for Mr. Carter to go, because I'm sure he'd love that. I know he'd love that. So I'll talk to Dr. Francois, because honestly, if he's going along for the express purpose, they might just do it. So, yes. Great question. Are we able to pay for the trip 100% upfront? Kind of. We are asking because, again, some things are still in flux that we're trying to negotiate with companies to get us a better price. We are asking that if you were going to pay upfront, let me go back. At least I'm going to try and go back. There you go. I went back. That you pay for everything that is going to happen in 2021. Wait for the final payment. So I would put down $950. That final payment is supposed to be about $150. Put down $950. Yeah. Yes.
As in past years, I assume the choir, I know you can't guarantee the desk, but the choir and band performances or workshops will be set.
We're going to do everything we can to make sure that those two do not overlap, because we do have about 10 or 12 students that are in both. So yeah, a student who is in both in band and choir will be able to perform with both band and with choir. The workshop that choir is slated to do is, I forget what it's called. Do you remember what it's called, Sarah?
They've changed the name, so it's Soundtrack Sessions Vocal.
Wait, what? Say that again?
Soundtrack Sessions.
Soundtrack Sessions. Basically what we do is we go in and they teach us the music to one of the Disney movies. We record it and they overlay it on the movie and give us a DVD as a souvenir on the way back, which is cool. So we get a licensed DVD of us singing Disney tunes to Disney movies. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. Someone's got a notification. Ding. Any other questions that I can answer for you at this point? Oh, sure. Yes.
Then the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, yeah. PowerPoint presentation and the sheet that's in your hand is going with you before we go. Or no, after you go, I'll put it all together. Because I want to make sure if I've forgotten any details that they go into the presentation. And this is being recorded, that will go along with too. Aaron.
So the question was more for Sarah, sorry.
Okay, Sarah, you've got a question.
So when I get through to the point where I have the option to pick insurance, I click next and it says internal error. We ran into an error on our server.
They're running into a server error, and I'm seeing lots of heads going, yes, that's correct. So.
And you had selected an option and it still gave you an error? You didn't leave it blank?
Correct.
Okay, let me jot the question down and get back to Mr. Mahan tomorrow because I don't have an immediate answer for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So given that, any other questions? Back there, and then I saw here.
Wondering on the payment, for like a few, but two separate households,
Yes.
is there a way that we could do payment half?
Um,
I don't, not going through there, I don't know if there's a way to do like two separate.
yeah, you just don't do auto payments, and both of you have access to the account. So the question was, if you have split households, how do we handle paying together? And you can either coordinate where one person, some depends on how contentious things are, unfortunately. But if you both have access to the account, then you both can make a payment. Just don't select auto payment. Yeah.
I have a question about the fundraising.
Yes.
In years past, have kind of given us, I think, or something like that.
Correct.
The fundraising of our students.
Yep. There is a monthly statement that is generated through Bob Rogers. So you'll be getting statements from them. And any of the fundraising dollars that you've done with us will be forwarded onto them. I'll work that. I don't know how that works with Sarah, but I know that it does work with Sarah, that we know you raised this much, this is how much goes into this person's account, and it will show up there probably in September once we get things settled out. Izzy? Are we keeping our same t-shirts? No, because those say 2020 on them. The t-shirts from the trip that never was their souvenir. It was the only money that they didn't get back because they got something for it. So yes, we could certainly keep the same design and cross out 2020, put out 2022. But we always try to elicit artwork from our current students because it's their trip. But if that's something they want to do, we can certainly do that. It won't be the same trip t-shirt. Sad to say. Any other questions then? All right, so very quickly then, let's go through the sheet that you got with you, please. And then I'll tell you the two things that you will need to do in order to make sure that you are set to go. So we do use remind texts to communicate with the kids on the trip. We promise that this is not to spam you. And we really encourage that communication really be for only the people participating on the trip. I know parents sometimes like to say, well, we want to know what's going on too, but really this is literally the 1:30 a.m. text going out, hey, we're doing a stop in 25 minutes, make sure that you're ready to go. And if you want to know when we're having a potty stop on the trip, then by all means sign up for the mind text, or wanting to know what time we should meet up and where. I mean, really? It's designed for the students going on the trip. I mean, parents, you can if you want to, but really, participants, you should. Waterford High School Music Department is planning a trip to Orlando, Florida to participate in Disney World's Magic Music Days. I don't know if it's called that anymore. I think they changed that too, going into the 50th. I could be wrong. The band has applied to march in a parade, and the choir will be doing a workshop. The trip will include points of interest within this Disney World grounds. Dates for the trip are tentatively scheduled with departure from Waterford on Sunday, March 20th, and return on Friday, March 25th. Students will not be missing any class time and will be expected to be in attendance when classes resume on Monday, March 28th. And if you're in the musical, Sunday the 27th is tech load-in, so good luck. We are asking for an indication of support and participation from you. It says see attached form. There's no actual attached form. It's now done all electronically to help make preparations for this trip, including booking the hotel rooms and bus and setting the final cost. We're also offering the add-on project to Universal Studios. Fundraising, again, what a student fundraises goes into their account. It is theirs for them and your family. You cannot will it to your friends. Oh, I'm not going on the trip. Can so-and-so have it? No, it belongs to you and your family. What happens if you don't use it? Then it goes into the department. It gets used for the kids eventually. But I know of a family right now that just had a student graduate last year, that the next one is not coming. He's in second grade. We will have it for that student when they get here in 7 years. It's that family's money until they graduate out of the district. So if you want to know how that works, talk to me privately. But we're trying to make every effort possible. It's always better to use someone else's money than your own to go on these trips. So that's why we try to do fundraisers. But if you don't want to do a fundraiser, you don't have to do a fundraiser. They are optional. So again, here's the sketch, $11.50 per person. Universal Studios is an additional $125. Included is transportation, gratuities, rooms for the motor coach drivers, t-shirt, 4 days, 3 nights at the Marriott International Hotel, the Magic Pass, which includes water park and theme parks, sub-pack, 3 breakfasts, 3 dinners, not included is spending cash, 3 lunches, and then meals in transit. But again, I kind of explained that we got the sub-pack, bring some snacks on the way down. On the way back, they get a $20 bill. They should have their meals taken care of. We will have a final trip meeting with a very detailed itinerary on Wednesday, March 2nd. That is already scheduled. We know that that's when that's going to happen. So please, please, please mark that on the calendar. If you're going to go, make every effort to clear your schedules. I know sometimes work can't be helped, but for parents, but for students, ask off. Make sure you're there. Get the details of the trip. On the back side, payment schedules due on or before the date indicated. July 13th, $200 down payment. Again, it'd be $325 if you're going to do the universal, and trip insurance is added on that point if you're going to do it through Bob Rogers Travel. Yes, you can always add on trip insurance later, but it's highly recommended you just do it up front. So if anything happens, you cancel out, even in August, you know what, something happened, we can't go anymore. You'll be able to get back what you put in.
Actually, can I jump in on that really quickly?
Yes,
If you're getting that enhanced insurance, you have a 14-day window to get it.
there you go. Through Bob Rogers. If you want to do it through someone else, you can do it whenever you want to, but if you're going to do it through Bob Rogers and do the enhanced, you have a 14-day window from when you put down the payment.
And most places that are including any kind of cancel for any reason will have a window from the first deposit that you made. So 14 days is pretty standard. Obviously, if you know a guy, then go with the guy and make it happen. But most CFAR or cancel for any reason insurances will have a window that is started the day you make your deposit.
Okay, thank you. So please note, all payments are non-refundable unless you have trip insurance. That is your way to get funds back. So once you put in, you won't get it back unless you have trip insurance. So just be aware of that. School does not provide trip insurance. We highly recommend it. And again, like I said, last trip, we had about 80%, and those 20% were really biting their nails. Fortunately, we were able to get everything back for them, but I wouldn't always count on that if something happens. Do we foresee canceling the trip? Gosh, I hope not. I mean, the only reason we had to was because of the pandemic. We've never had to cancel a trip before, so we'll get there. In order to effectively plan the trip and help determine those final costs, indication of support and commitment is needed from all parents and students involved. Register each participant on Bob Rogers' site by Thursday, July 1st. And fill out the online form, and you'll see it's underlined. When you get this digitally, it's linked. I'll give you the link here at the end. That will also serve as a trip. That online form is a school permission slip for a field trip. That's why it's 2 different forms. Chaperones will be considered on a first-come, first-served basis. Priority will be given to those who are parents of upperclassmen first. We also balance male-female chaperones in direct ratio to the student ratio. We always need more dads. We always need more dads. Every single trip I've done for the past 20 years, we've always needed more. It becomes a point of we need more dads to go, or we can't go because we need male chaperones. So please consider that. We are limited the number of chaperones subject to the number of students participating. If 80 students participate, we'll have 8 chaperones. Chaperones need to understand this is not a vacation, but rather it's a service being provided to the students of Waterford Union High School. Cost for the chaperones is also the same. Chaperones are given the privilege of sleeping 2 people per room versus 5 per room as the students, as a token of our appreciation. We sincerely hope this will not be an issue, but understand that this is a school trip. And in accordance with Waterford policy, all field trips are subject to the co-curricular activity code. Any infraction of social aspects of the code may result in a student not being allowed to participate. All school rules and policies will be enforced before, during, and after the trip. And if a student should choose to violate these policies during the trip, disciplinary action will be taken. As a final step, if a student's violation is severe or continual, the student may be sent home at the family's expense. We will not be paying for that, nor will all the other participants on the trip be paying for that. And yes, unfortunately, we've had to send students home. It's a long flight home and an expensive flight home because it's not going to be a bus. We are sending you on a plane immediately to come home, and that is at your family's expense. Okay? So via the quickest and most direct route, if such an action were to be necessary, any trip expenses paid in would be forfeited. You're not getting a refund because we have to send you out for discipline. Okay. So thank you for reading this. Let's get things moving for our students, and let's have our kids experience a wonderful trip with many special memories. So let me get to that last slide here. And I did a shortcut link. Some of you know about tinyURL. I love tinyURL. I use them a lot. I tried to do something that you'd remember. WDW, Walt Disney World 2022. WDW 2022 is where the shortcut link is for the permission slip. We need you to do both things, please. You're going to register and you're going to do the permission slip. Sure, take a picture of it. That's fine. And again, as soon as this meeting is over, I'm going to head back to my room. I'm going to get this into a PDF, that both the sheet that you have as well as the PowerPoint, and it'll be emailed to you. You'll have the link right there. Any other questions? Said it was going to be 45 minutes. I went 45 minutes and 35 seconds. That's pretty good. So I'm going to actually switch things just a little bit because, sure I am. Okay, figure this out, Derek. You're smarter than the computer. We're going to stop the presentation and we're going to stop recording. And I'm going to pull this over and there we go. So, all right, Sarah and Roger, you're now up on the screen. But that's Mr. Ludio. Say hi to Mr. Ludio. They're waving at you. I know you can't see them.
Hi, everybody.
That's Sarah McVeigh. So, yeah, here, actually, I'm going to turn the computer on. So, there you go. Now you can see everybody. You can wave. There you go. Welcome back to Waterford. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Ludio just returned to the United States 2 weeks ago. He was last teaching in Rwanda, but he went to Graded District at Evergreen Elementary School. So he's returning home. So it's nice to have Mr. Ludio back. So anything else you want to add, Mr. Ludio?
Well, I think it would be not so great if I didn't say anything at all to everybody the first time I see them. But yeah, like you said, I went to Evergreen in kindergarten through second grade way back when. So I'm pretty excited to come back to Waterford. Like you said, I was living in Rwanda, but then I've also lived and worked as a music teacher in international schools in a bunch of other countries such as Brazil, China, Philippines, and Abu Dhabi. So that's good news for all of you parents. You can trust that I have a lot of travel experience. And I've had a fair share of my run-ins with unfortunate circumstances and I've had to deal with. So don't be worried about that part. And I'm really excited to come down and meet you all in August. And yeah, really excited for this trip as well.
All right. And you'll be also glad to know that Sil will be the shortest person in the department. He's actually taller than Mr. Nelson. So enjoy that. that was a surprise. So, all right. Given that, I think we're set to go. If you have personal questions, you can come up. You can ask me or Roger or Sarah. Otherwise, get registered, and we will see you in September.